Hi, Mark here from the Tangent-Bound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangent-Bound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangent-Bound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangentBoundNetwork.com and see if Tangent-Bound Network is right for you.
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast, and or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. And try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to the Crazy Life, everyone. My name is Jen. I am your hostess for the evening, and with me, as always, we have Brian and Heno. Hey, guys.
Shalom.
Sup?
The energy is outstanding tonight.
Listen, this is my third podcast night in a row. What do you want from me?
Oh, it's one of those.
And I'm recording, I think,
with salty language would have been recorded. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Tony and I are recording on Saturday, so I'm gonna have four within the calendar week here.
Big week.
Yeah.
It is a big week. It is a lot of recording. This is my first of the week, so I am fresh as a daisy. So you guys have to step it up.
Heno and I are back to back in these podcasts, though. 2 nights in a row for the two of us podcasting together.
Nice.
Yep, so Brian joined me on Moving the Needle with Sean and Roy last night. We had a good time talking about basketball versus dodgeball.
Yep. Good fun.
That's pretty fun.
Yep. Good, clean
That's a fun one.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just going to kick this off. I had a weekend of lots of laughs. It was so needed. On Friday, did the birthday party thing, and we played Cards Against Humanity from, I don't know, roughly 10 until about 3 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, we had one big, one of the, not the full thing, but one of the big decks, and we just played it till it was done.
Oh, wow.
And then I looked down, and it was like 3:15. I'm like, whoa, okay. But boy, just so, like, literally laughing where I had to hand the card to somebody else saying, you read it, because I can't. Every time I looked at it, I just started laughing. I just had the giggles, and I was done. But
Nice.
it was great. And then, and then watching those two movies, and then doing the podcast last night, which was a lot of fun also. And what else did I do? Oh, we did the Almost Famous episode, and I did that over the weekend. And it was kind of funny because I started it a while ago because I'm trying to be better without waiting till the last minute. But because I was out of town, I ended up waiting for the last minute on some stuff.
Sure.
But I was like, oh, I got half of it done. I got 2 nights to finish it. And I didn't realize how much, because we ended up having 3 people that had involved in the music industry in some way, shape, or form. And so we would go on these music tangents about, and they were great stories, but it didn't fit with the movie anymore. And the 5 of us were doing we had the ability to do tangents that I was even like, I didn't even do an edit, and it sounded like I did an edit because all of a sudden the topic just shifted.
Right.
But I got it all done, and I didn't get a whole lot of sleep the night before we podcasted for Moving the Needle. And it was funny because Brian had texted me like 4 o'clock, like, hey, when are we recording? And I completely missed it because I was just like, that's what I get for being the procrastinator.
Yeah, and then at like 9:20 or so, I'm looking at my phone going,
are you recording?
I know it's going to be late because Heno's involved, so it's going to be later than if we were all East Coast or something. But I'm like, like, are we doing this?
I'm like, yeah, right now.
Yeah, right now. And I'm like, oh,
oh, okay. I was like, oops, sorry. But it was a fun weekend, and Monday, my good news is that got my appraisal in, and then Monday found out everything, underwriting, no problem, closing this Friday, have money all taken care of after, next week. So that's a big deal. And what else? There's something else. Things at work have been really wild. The general manager already found somebody, or he has suggested somebody to replace him. And it's somebody I know, and it was somebody kind of that I already had in mind, not him specifically, but the type of person, like somebody that already had a business, but was kind of like done with being in business and just wants to find a nice place to work for until their retirement or whatever. And somebody that already knows our industry real well. So that was really good news. And my boss is doing really well. He's been going to the doctor, and he finally got some sleep, and he's really, it's great to see people that are in the solution.
Yeah.
And willing to do whatever it takes, and are being open about it and all that. And it's just, to me, that's one of the most inspiring things. And then today I did basically 8 hours of seeding and moving dirt and raking dirt into lawns, and I got done, and I was like, I am too old for this.
Didn't you just do the same kind of thing like a week ago? Like, not the same job, but have the same thought process, I should say.
This was step 2. So I did first one layer, and this
Okay.
was the second day. And unfortunately, I did this all day by myself. There was nobody helping me. It was very satisfying. I really loved it. I enjoyed it, but my back started to hurt. And
Like,
and
I know,
like,
when they tell you to get a Zen garden, they don't mean one that's like a whole property. They just mean a little one that sits on your desk.
yeah, that was a little bit, but it was a good reminder of okay, maybe you need to go back to the gym. And
No, so you're taking the way wrong attitude on this. Like, it's quit doing the hard work.
want someone else to do it for me? Okay.
Yeah, come on.
If I was like right now, if I still felt like I felt when I got off of work, I would probably feel a little different about it. But it was great that I got home, I relaxed, I had something to eat, I went out and watered my lawn a little bit, did some, watered some of my wildflowers, and I'm like, okay, I'm fine. It was just a good long day.
Right.
And that feels good.
Right.
But we had it was great to just get out of town and have some good laughs. And and that was the last thing, was Idaho Falls. When I was there I about a month ago, let's say, and I shared a little bit about going out for food and everything, and it was still like when I went to Lowe's, there wasn't a lot of mask wearing or anything like that. But now because businesses are saying, you want to walk in. So I actually walked into a Walmart, and everyone was on it.
Wow.
It was great to see, because a month ago it wasn't like that. I mean, everybody was ready. They were doing what they needed to do. Even I walked into Lowe's, and Lowe's didn't have, like, I know they had requirements and they were moving people around, but again, it was it wasn't like somebody had to enforce this stuff, and people were in line and they were doing it, and it was just great to see that difference in a month, that people said, okay, we're going to take this seriously.
Yeah.
And it really made me, it just felt better. Like, okay, we're all thinking about each other. We're all trying to do what we need to do the best we can.
Yep. That really is too. That's what I see when I see
Just
this
felt good.
stuff. Because, like, now that it's mandatory in Ohio and Michigan, and, going into stores and stuff, I still kind of look around, because I'm still expecting to see people, like, wear it to get in and then take it off when they're in the store or something like that. And, I'm still seeing a lot of, like, below the nose wearers, but it's still good to see people doing that, and people seem to be getting a little better about the space. But that's still my main issue, is there's a lot of people still not giving, 6 feet, or even in the stores when you're in line, they have, whether it's a taped X or an actual decal on the floor, it's like, just, people just not paying attention to those, whether, and honestly, unless you look down, you wouldn't even know they're there necessarily. So that could be part of the problem. I don't know, but anyway, but you're right. It does feel nice when you go out and go, okay, people are listening. We're at least all trying to do our part here, to care about each other a little bit, or at least to listen, so that maybe we can minimize this, for a while.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's what I got.
Oh, all right.
Cool. So
Well,
how was your week, Brian?
It was, wasn't bad. It was just a pretty average week, aside from, like I said, this is the third day of podcasting in a row, which I haven't done in a long time. I've done back to back a few times where Tony and I will have recorded on, like, Tuesday, and then we'll do this one on Wednesday or something, or we'll do this one late, and Tony and I will have to have recorded early that week, so it'll be like a Friday, Saturday record or something. But it was nice, and like I was telling the guys last night when we were doing the show, I said it was so weird though, as we're getting everything, just having our pre-chat and everything, and I'm like, I don't have Audacity pulled up. I feel like I should be doing, like, I don't know what to do with my hands, like, like I feel like I should be doing something, and it's like, it's weird how it takes me, and I hadn't thought of this before. I don't know if others who do podcasts, like where you do the recording and stuff, go through this or not, but when you're on someone else's show, it takes me, and maybe it's because I do it on both of the podcasts, so I am 100% used to making sure that things are recording and whatever. But it takes me a little while to kind of relax into you're just a guest role. Like, even as we were doing the show, there were a couple of times, like, I don't know if you noticed that, like, there's a couple times where, in a lot of conversations, you'll just have a quick second or three of, like, dead air, because the conversation you're having just comes to a close, and then nobody starts to talk, like, immediately. And in my head, it's like there's almost like an instant panic, even though, first of all, it can be fixed in post. You can trim up that gap so it's not there, but also it's like in my head, it's like, say something, and it's like, no, it isn't your show. Like, just relax, like, it'll be all right. Just relax. And, but, I already knew all the guys on that show, so there was no anxiety going into it or anything, because I was on before. We had a good time. It was fun having a chat with all of you again. So, it's fine. But it was just kind of weird going through. That was the only anxiety I had, was not because of anything they did, but just because of, it's weird because you know what it is it was a revisit to control issues is what it is. I'm so used to, like, being in control, whether it's not a stress thing. It's just, that's the role I'm used to. So now all of a sudden I'm like, so, but it's also really nice, Because at the end of it, all I had to do was hit end conversation on Skype and done. I don't have to go through and re-listen to it to edit or trim those pauses or get rid of all of Brian's you-knows and ums and stuff. So,
Yeah, I get to do all that.
Yeah, that's why I'm bringing it up, because I know it's you.
And we do none of that on this show, but if you listen to Moving the Needle, I literally go through and I edit out as many of those as I can, and I pretty much get all of them.
Yeah. I have all the want to, I just don't have any of the ambition to.
It takes a long time.
It does. That's
really
why
does.
I just don't have the energy for it. I would love to, because I know it does sound better and everything, but I just can't do it. Also, it doesn't bother me as much in conversation podcasts. It's different if, I don't know, like if you're just having a conversation, it doesn't bother me a whole lot. Because, when we talk, we tend to ignore a lot of that stuff anyway. So I kind of get over it pretty quick. But, what are you going to do? But like I said, it was a good time. I'm glad to be doing this show. It was fun doing Salty Language on Monday, so it's, we're all good stuff, in tomorrow or tonight, probably tomorrow, because I'll post this tonight. So once I'm past that point, I'll probably feel like some kind of like social fatigue for a day or so, just because it's a lot for me to do this 3 nights in a row, even though it doesn't seem like it, and it really isn't, but I feel it. So,
but you had great energy for Salty Language, great energy last night, and you sound like you had great energy tonight, so that's awesome.
Right. Yeah, but if I had to do another one tomorrow, I'd probably start being like, all right. Like it, but again, it's like the one I could have gone easiest on was last night, because there's 4 of us. So I could have easily, kind of just, I'm going to just not bring a ton of energy, but that isn't how I like to do things. I don't like to half-ass when I can, and it really bothers me. Like when I've listened to episodes of this or Salty Language in the past, and I'm like, man, I had no energy in that. It really bothers me, because that isn't what what I want to do. But, it happens. Like I think any podcast you listen to, you'll catch that. There's just some where they just, there just isn't the same energy, whether it's something happens in the world or their life or whatever. You just didn't get enough sleep, whatever it ends up being. So,
well, I have one thing real quick that I wanted to say was I finished that book on Lewis and Clark called Undaunted Courage, and what was weird is he was an alcoholic with mental health issues.
Really?
And it's a trip reading a historical volume, and they talk about it. They mentioned that because he killed himself, and there were periods of time where he just didn't write at all, and they were like, well, did he not write, or did they lose a bunch of the journals?
Sure.
Because when he got back, he never finished it.
Uh-huh.
And there was so many behavioral things that I was like, it felt so close to home, and it was weird getting a historical perspective and getting into the person, not just because of what they presented, but because of what I picked up.
Okay.
And there was so much alcoholic behavior that I identify with myself. And then there was the mental health stuff. And most of where he stopped writing, a lot of it was isolation and depression. And he may have been bipolar, because he definitely had times where he seemed like he was in he could be in a manic state.
Okay.
But it could also just been really good discipline. I mean, military stuff, who knows? But for sure, he had depression, and other people had mentioned it. Even Jefferson, who was close with their family. But it was it was the first time I've read a historical account that hit me so much from a mental health and addiction level. It was a trip.
Interesting.
So, anyhow, if I just would say I recommend it to anyone if you're into history and humans being humans. It was a good read. So.
Nice.
Awesome.
Excellent.
So what else happened this week, Brian?
I was trying to think. I really haven't done a whole lot other than, because Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday I'm podcasting, so I haven't really done much else. Like through the day, I've been sleeping. One thing that I've noticed is I've been having, and this is good and bad. I've been having really, really wild, very real dreams. And they're wild because they mess with me a lot. They're very much, I've talked about having these kind of dreams before, to where I wake up and I will literally have to like do grounding stuff. Like I'll have to sit up, look around, be like, okay, everything is here. This is where I'm at. I'm fine, kind of thing. Because, you know, one of them I had is one I think I've talked about on here. It's a recurring dream of mine, to where I'm trapped inside of a house with no exit. And I'm being chased, but I don't know by what. So, yeah, and it's terrifying. And it's one I've had since, man, I don't know, I've probably 12, you know, like, or so. It's one that's just, it's not all the time. It's just every once in a while it comes back, you know, and it's terrifying. I'll wake up, I'm usually sweating. I'm, you know, very, you know, in fight or flight mode, you know, very much so, because in my head I've just been, you know, fleeing. So that one came back, but a lot of the others are either about real people in my life or about real situations, but not necessarily with the people who were in those situations with me. So it's almost like, in ways, I'm reliving parts of my life, but with different people, and not in a, oh, if I had chose A instead of B situation. You know, it's just people who, like a celebrity or somebody who absolutely doesn't belong in, or a person, even someone from my life that would be put in a position that they had nothing to do with, type of a thing. So, you know, they've been very weird. The good part of it is that usually means I'm getting good sleep, which is weird about it. Or deep sleep, I should say, not good sleep, deep sleep. Because I don't have these kind of dreams until I get into really deep sleep. And when I wake up, I'll look at the sleep tracker on my phone and be like, yep, I was at the depth of the REM cycle. And it's so weird how I get anxiety if I can't sleep. I'll toss and turn if I get into the middle part. And if I get into the deep part, I seemingly get almost nightmares or very strange dreams that when I wake up, I can't go back to sleep. So it seems like, just in general, sleep is a terrible idea for me. The whole idea of it is just terrible.
Now, do you think it might be related to the medicine?
The dreams definitely are, because, or I would think are, I should say. I'm not a doctor or a specialist. But because I didn't really have them until I went on antidepressants. And I've had them on every antidepressant that I've been on. So I would definitely say that there's correlation. I don't know if there's causation, but there's correlation. Gotcha. So, and when I've talked to my psychiatrist about it in the past, not the one I'm seeing now, but the one before, he was like, yeah, that's very possible. Like, you know, your brain can do crazy things when you're on these drugs sometimes. So as long as they're not happening while I'm awake, to where I'm seeing things or hearing voices, you know, it's one thing. You know, as long as it's only in my dreams, it's seemingly okay. He didn't seem very alarmed by it. I haven't talked with the new psychiatrist about it. I will, because I have to see her again within the next month. So I'll mention it to her and then my therapist when I talk to her next too, because I don't know there's not really much I can do aside from when I wake up. Like I said, I go through grounding exercises, you know, put my feet on the floor, pay attention to sensation, focus on my breathing, all those things to bring me back to right now. You know, those are the two things I'm looking to do is in that moment is be in the moment and also recognize that I'm safe. You know, so especially when I have dreams like the one in the house where I can't get out, you know, I need to, basically I just need to calm down. You know, and once I realize, okay, there's a window in front of me, there's a door, I'm in my bed, I'm okay, kind of a thing. And then usually I'll start calming back down. The worst part is I can't go back to sleep because when I have these dreams, if I wake up and then I just, you know, put my head back down and go back to sleep, I will go right back into that dream basically. Oh, so wow. I almost have to sit up for 20 minutes or so. I need to get my head on something else. because I've noticed there's a repetition to it otherwise. You know, like I'll pick up my phone and I'll scroll social media, or I'll play a game on my phone or something to just break the mental cycle of what I'm focused on. So yeah, I mean, I won't go as far as saying that they're not night terrors. They're not that bad. Like, I don't wake up like screaming or alarming if someone were in the bed with me, you know, because I had them when we were together, Jen. Like, you never noticed me like freaking out, or like I would just wake up and be like, okay, like I said, I just wake up and I'm hyper aware when I wake up, just like what, you know, like I said, I'm in fight or flight. So, but that can't be good, you know, like that still cannot be good to come out of sleep that far. Like I'm that close to, you know, like on TV where, you know, somebody will have a crazy dream and they'll wake up screaming, and, you know, it's like I'm almost to that point. But whatever. Overall, like I said, it's not bad. It usually is like I'll wake up, I'm like that for a little bit, and then, you know, again, I have tools at my disposal to help. I just want to make sure I'm alerting my mental health professionals, like, hey, this is going on. That way it's something they can keep note of in case there is something I drop later on that maybe they're like, oh, hey, maybe this medicine isn't right for him, or maybe we need, you know, he needs a different tool or something like that in the tool belt. You know, it's like I said, they're frustrating, but I'm okay. So, but yeah, other than that, it's been pretty quiet. Like I said, I mean, you know, I had BLT today with like tomatoes that were homegrown, which nice. for anyone who doesn't know, like if you've never had a homegrown tomato versus one bought at like a supermarket, oh my God, there's a difference. You know, there's actual flavor and stuff in the homegrown ones. So it was really nice to have that, even though, you know, it's one of those like life's little wins kind of moments, you know, because like the second we started getting tomatoes on it, I quit buying them at the store because I was like, these are garbage, because they just taste like water because they're all hothouse tomatoes. You know, they don't have a lot of flavor. Now, if you buy from farmers markets and stuff, that's a different story. A lot of those are, you know, delicious, but buying from a supermarket, it's like meh. So it was really nice though, that first bite into that sandwich with the crispy bacon and that fresh tomato and stuff. It was a really nice kind of a summer treat, you know, because I haven't had in a while. It was the first time we've had a chance to really have them off of this. We've had tomatoes, but we haven't really, it hasn't produced a lot because we only have the one plant. And it's produced like a lot of like cherry tomato size ones. You know, we haven't really had any that were decent enough size to really slice for, you know, because of those cherry tomatoes, you need a ton for 3 people to make sandwiches, you know, so. But anyway, so, you know, just being able to enjoy that was a small win also, you know, that's something that in the past I know I would have overlooked. So I'm glad that I kind of took that moment to really kind of savor. Going back to Angela's awesome podcast when Heno and Angela used to talk about, you know, enjoying your food and like, you know, savoring what you're eating and stuff. And just like I said, taking that bite. I love crispy bacon and just everything coming together right there. You know, that and the homegrown tomato and everything. It was just really nice, nice enough moment that I was like, you know, I think I need a second one. So
I do that with ice cream cones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like the actual cone itself more so, or?
Well, I mean, like I'll go in the freezer and grab whatever ice cream bar I have in there and I eat it and I go, you know what? I want 2.
Yeah.
It's easy enough to do.
Yep.
A little too easy.
Well, I mean, addictive personality, right? Yeah. Also, it's ice cream. I mean, I think most of us probably have had those moments.
Pretty much.
Well, Jim that lives here, he went and got an ice cream sandwich out of our freezer the other day, and then he stopped and just grabbed a second one and then went and sat down. He knew wait till afterward. So, yeah, we all do it, I think. All right, so anyway, that's been it for me. So, how about you, Jen?
Well, it's been a pretty normal week, you know, nothing too crazy one way or another.
Well, in fairness, given how your last few weeks have been, I'd say that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. I'm getting back into normal routines, which are good. Unfortunately, the routine does not involve the gym as much as it should involve the gym. So we're still working on that. That's still a work in progress.
Does it involve going to the fridge and getting 2 ice creams?
It doesn't involve getting 2 ice creams, thankfully.
Oh.
To this point, I've kind of curbed some of that stuff down, which is good. So I'm making steps in the right direction. If I had to go to the doctor tomorrow, she would not be happy with my progress. But I know she wants me to be more aggressive than I am being probably right now. So if I'm being honest,
be aggressive. Be aggressive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I need to step up my game and start getting a little bit more aggressive with my diet and with my exercise. So still work in progress there. We're working on that.
Ice cream in both hands counts as
that's aggressive ice creaming.
That is aggressive ice creaming.
And
Yes,
and you're doing
absolutely.
curls. Just keep,
It's true.
up to your face every time. Gains. Not the kind of gains the doctor wants, though. Yeah.
No, not the gains the doctor wants
Yeah.
to see.
Even if you yell beefcake as you do it.
Nice. But I mean, other than that, my social media time is back up again, so I need to kind of start working on that a bit.
Really quick, I got my update from the thing on my phone. My social
Yeah.
media time was down 9 hours last week.
Wow.
Yeah. But if you look at how much time I'm spending on my phone playing games, it's probably the same amount of time. So
Gotcha. You just traded one thing for
yeah,
another.
basically, yeah.
Well, let's see where I'm at with my screen time.
I'm up 182% from last week.
Nice.
Wow. That's not good.
That's some fine work.
I am 23 minutes above my normal average for the week.
Uh-huh.
So I'm trending. I'm okay. Let's see.
Yeah. The first thing I usually do when I see the numbers, whether they're up or down, is I'll look at the difference kind of a thing, or the amount of time spent on certain things. Because there are times where like last week, my number was up overall, and I'm like, I was actually reading on my phone though. So it doesn't bother me as much. Like I was reading from a book that a book I talked about starting a long, long time ago on here. I read some more of it, and so I spent hours reading that. So that added like 4 hours to my time. But when I was like, oh wait, my time reading a book was up 4 hours, or whatever. So I can live with there being more time on my phone.
Okay, mine's my dumb alarm clock app, so I just need to.
Oh yeah.
I wish I could disconnect it because it's 7 hours of alarm clock app, and then the rest it's maybe an hour total.
Yeah, I'm
This
still
is dumb.
averaging 8.5 hours per day. So my phone is taking up a full-time job.
Yep.
I have 2 full-time jobs. One I'm working, the other I'm on my phone.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's something that needs to probably be addressed. So stuff like that. But so I have to-do lists now of things that I need to address. So now I have to make sure that I address them. So that's what I'll be working on probably for the next few weeks, if not longer, of course. Kind of working on that stuff. I'm trying to think what else. Yesterday was, or would have been, my brother-in-law's 40th birthday. So, yeah, a bit of a rough day.
Yeah, sure.
I'm kind of going through that. But we are preparing on Saturday. We're having a memorial birthday party for him.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting with COVID and everything out there. we're trying to be as protected as possible and safe as possible, but we're probably going to end up having between 40 to 50 people at our house.
Oh my.
Yes. I mean, granted, we'll all be outside. We're going to have tables and chairs. Everyone's bringing chairs so that they can sit social distance and be away from each other as needed. We're having serving people, people that are going to be serving the food versus in the buffet style where everyone grabs the handles of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to have people wearing gloves in masks, serving everybody, which would be nice.
Yeah.
And instead of having a potluck, we're providing all of the food and doing it that way. So, you know, taking our safety measures and stuff. Curious to see how this is going to happen and go off, but I'm sure it'll work out well. Lots of social anxiety stuff. I've just been socializing a lot, and I ended up going to a bridal shower on Sunday, which was lovely. You know, showers are always interesting because there's a lot of downtime, and so you end up chit-chatting. So there's a lot of chit-chatting that ends up happening. Navigated my way through a political conversation with someone who is dramatically on the opposing side of where I'm at, so which made it a very interesting conversation. Yeah, that was different.
Yeah.
We ended with she reached over and touched my arm, and she's like, I hope that you're able to learn something from me, because I know I definitely learned something from you.
Okay.
Okay.
And I said, okay.
Out of curiosity, can I ask what that person does for a living?
You know, I'm not sure.
I hate to just pee all over
There's
this
a question.
but I can't help it. That sounds like manager speak. Or not manager speak. Let me rephrase that sounds like HR speak.
Yes.
Because I just be like, did you learn something from this? Because I know I did. And hopefully, or even a manager situation, that we can both be stronger going forward. And as soon as they walk out the door, they'll just be like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I said, funny. I can't help it. It's the skeptic in me. But it also, certain phrasing just kind of like, my ears perk up to it. So
it's funny.
Stupid.
Oh, yeah.
I hate the fact that I read those management books years ago, because some of that stuff I'll probably never not know, and I wish I didn't, because it was just nicer being naive to some of the stuff.
I know, and it's
but hopefully it was a learning experience for.
I hope she did take something away from it. I can't imagine that it's going to be much of use for her, but because she's very adamantly one way, and I'm pretty strongly the opposite direction. Yeah. But it is what it is.
Well, there is something too in you can have a conversation with somebody that is diametrically opposed to you, and you can learn something from it, but not change your opinion or change your stance.
Right.
To where maybe at least you have a better understanding of, I don't want to say your opponent, but the person who's on the opposite side of you.
Yeah, and it becomes difficult because I ended up just doing a lot of nodding. Because the stuff that she was coming up with is very, very one-sided.
Of course,
it was very obvious the news outlets she was listening to. It was pretty obvious the places that she was getting her information from, and it was very skewed one direction, but being presented as fair.
I said it.
Yeah.
So
right.
As a balanced argument that wasn't, in my opinion,
right,
as balanced as it could be.
Right.
But regardless, I navigated my way through it very successfully in my eyes. So
well good, because really there in those things, it's like you said, you recognize both of you are very staunch, and it's not the time for a like screaming match. So, and also, choosing your, pick your hill,
Oh yeah. So I did a little, like I said, it was just smile and nod, and kind of put yourself in a happy place so that,
Yeah, I'm all for that unless the person crosses into a, like if they start saying offensive things, then I'm certainly going to call somebody on that. Like I said, a week or two ago, I was like, I'm done with that garbage. I'm not going to just sit by and let somebody spew hate just because they think they can get away with it. But again, in those scenarios, it's like, is it worth it? Is it going to make a difference, or am I just going to end up looking like a jerk here? But, everyone has their choice to make in those scenarios.
True.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that we did this weekend is we did purge. We ended up getting a dumpster.
I thought you meant like the movie, like you had a certain amount of time you could do whatever you want. Oh, all right.
Not like the movie.
I'm less interested, but go ahead. Yeah.
we got a giant dumpster, like a 10-foot roll-off, I think it's called. But anyways.
Exciting. I thought there were dead people.
No dead people.
Okay.
But we got rid of an old tub. We got rid of a bunch of old car parts. Wow. We filled it up with all the stuff that was left over from the previous owner that left it in the pole barn.
Yeah.
So
that's a smart move when you're moving from a place like that. You just leave a bunch of garbage for the next people to deal with.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Tony had that happen, or Tony and Gene, when they moved into that last house they had. They ran into that. A bunch of his family's old crap, like 3 generations worth of it.
Oh, wow.
Just in the basement. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I'm being very sarcastic. Please, if you move, get rid of your own stuff.
Right. Empty it out.
Come on. I feel like as the prospective owner or, buyers, I feel like you should add that, like how if you have to have like new windows or a new roof, you can kind of drop the selling price because you're going to have to add those things. I feel like if you have to have a bunch of stuff removed too, I feel like you should be able to add a fee into the price for that. Because that's a load of garbage to leave somebody.
Oh, and we still have we could have filled it again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
nice.
There's still that much left. We could easily fill it again.
It's either that or open a scrapyard, yeah.
There's just a lot of like paint and oil and things that you can't throw in the dumpster.
That's the worst, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We had to deal with that.
Still figuring out how to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And electronics. So we got to figure out how to get rid of old electronics.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, there's still a work in progress. There's still a lot more to do, but we made a huge dent, which was awesome, and lots of hard work, which was awesome. And the getting ready for the party this weekend, because the pole barn is our rain contingency.
Bah.
So if it rains, we can all be in the pole barn.
Not just tell it, just on the invitation thing, the Evite or whatever, just put rain or shine. People go to concerts all the time with rain or shine tickets.
That's true. That's true. There's always that option.
And they're paying money and not getting free food at those.
That's true. And then my puppies are going to babysitter, because I determined that it was going to be too much for us to keep an eye on them and to keep everything.
Oh, come on. 40, 50 people. I'm sure they'd behave themselves.
They would have had a great time.
Yeah.
I don't know if everyone would have enjoyed them as much as they enjoyed everyone else.
Right.
But...
Oh, yeah. They would have been like, oh, my God. Yeah.
It's like, I love people.
Right.
But, yeah, so they're going to a babysitter, and we are going to have, because we have a 3-bedroom house, and we have 2 different guests coming to stay with us for Friday night and Saturday night. So it's going to be a full house and lots of people and lots of social. So I will report back and let you know how I do.
Yeah. Jen will be podcasting next week, curled up in the fetal position.
So many people.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be good. I keep telling myself that it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Yep. Right.
Just hang in there. You're gonna get through this just fine.
Right. It should be. I mean, given
Yeah.
the point of it, and a lot of people are anxious for any sort of social gathering right now and everything. So, as long as the conversation stays, civil, everything will probably be fine. And if it isn't, I don't know. There's enough people there. You can probably throw out anyone you need to throw out. So.
And I'll do my best. I am the political minority with my husband's family, and I recognize the fact that I'm the political minority and accept it. And I just usually try to avoid, or I will leave conversations as needed. This one I happen to be sitting next to the person, so I was kind of cornered.
It is nice when there's, especially you're the host and there's a ton of people. If something kind of starts going squirrely, you know what, I gotta this. You can excuse yourself, and you have a million reasons to have to excuse yourself as the host. So
exactly,
there is that as well.
I'll make it work.
Yeah.
Now, to keep my husband from wearing some of his T-shirts, we'll see if that works. But anyways. He's got a collection of political shirts that I'm not a fan of, so but we will see what happens.
I mean, your body, your choice. So, I mean, you got time to order off of Amazon. I'm just saying.
That would be interesting. Fire with fire.
Yeah, I'm screwing around, of course. I would not advocate that because it's not going to work out well for you, and you're the person that I would care about in the scenario. So,
You are correct.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
Right.
So I actually have the topic for the night, and the topic is radical compassion, which I came across this on Tiny Buddha and did some more research on it. And let me give you a little background here. So from radicalcompassion.com, it's communication. Now, you don't normally think of communication as being violent, but there are some situations that I guess become violent, maybe political. I don't know. We'll see. So, we envision creating a world where everyone wants to belong, one piece at a time. A world where people are contributing to the well-being of each other in mutually satisfying ways. With the tools and practices of radical compassion, we integrate presence, empathy, and authenticity, connect more fully with ourselves and others, building resources for contributing to life. Radical Compassion offers tools and practices of nonviolent communication to help you more fully integrate compassion and joy into your life and to support a world where everyone has access to resources to meet their needs. So that gives you a little bit of, if that makes sense, it gives you a little bit of what radical compassion kind of stands for. To break it down a little bit even further, from Wiki, radical compassion is a term coined by philosopher Ken Lampert in 2003. His theory of radical compassion appeared in Transitions of Compassion from Religion's Duty to Social Activism in 2006. Lampert identifies compassion as a special case of empathy directed towards others in distress. Radical compassion is a specific type of general compassion which includes the inner imperative to change reality in order to alleviate pain in others. The state of mind, according to Lampert's theory, is universal and stands at the root of the historical cry for social change. All right. Now, what does this mean for us, and how do we incorporate this into our lives? Tara Brach. She is an author that came up with, she has a few different books out there, but came up with an acronym to help us practice radical compassion. The acronym RAIN is an easy to remember tool for bringing mindfulness and compassion to emotional difficulties. Recognize what's going on. Allow the experience to be there just as it is. Investigate with interest and care. Nurture with self-compassion. There you go, RAIN. You can take your time and explore RAIN as a standalone meditation or move through the steps whenever challenging feelings arise. So the first step is recognize what's going on. Recognizing means consciously acknowledging in any given moment the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that are affecting you. This can be done with a simple mental whisper, noting what you are most aware of. So, recognizing the situation, I think, it's so important, and it's something that we overlook very often. Because you get caught up in emotion, you get caught up in the situation itself, that you don't take the time to take a step back to get the perspective of saying, this is the situation I am in. And just making that statement to yourself so that you can really understand and fully accept where you stand and what's going on. So that's the first step. Next step is allow the experience to be there just as it is. Allowing means letting the thoughts, emotions, feelings, or sensations you have recognized simply be there without trying to affix or avoid anything. You might recognize fear and allow by mental whispering, it's okay, or this belongs, or yes. Allowing creates a pause that makes it possible to deepen attention. So recognize the situation, sit in it. And that's, this one, they allow the experience to be there, and that's all they're saying is just sit in that moment and just say, okay, I'm here. This is what it is. I've got to sit in it and just be okay in it. The next one is investigate with interest and care. To investigate, call on your natural curiosity, the desire to know truth, and direct a more focused attention to your present experience. You might ask yourself, what most wants attention? How may I experience this in my body? What am I believing? What does this vulnerable place want from me? What does it most need? Whatever the inquiry, your investigation will be most transformational if you step away from conceptualizing and bring your primary attention to the felt sense in the body. So get in touch with your body and get in touch with where you're at in the moment. And this is a great time to wiggle those toes, wiggle those fingers, and really experience the fullness of the situation. All right, nurture with self-compassion. Self-compassion begins to naturally arise in the moments that you recognize you are suffering. It comes into fullness as you intentionally nurture your inner life with self-care. To do this, try to sense what the wounded, frightened, or hurting place inside you most needs, and then offer gestures of active care that might address this need. Does it need a massage or reassurance, or forgiveness, of compassion, of love? Experiment and see what intentional gesture of kindness most helps give comfort, soften, or open your heart. It might be the mental whisper, I am here with you, I'm sorry, and I love you, and I'm listening. It's not your fault. Trust in your goodness. In addition to whispered message of care, many people find healing by gently placing a hand on the heart or cheek, or by envisioning being bathed in or embraced by warm, radiant light. If it feels difficult to offer yourself love, bring to mind a loving being, spiritual figure, family member, friend, or pet. Imagine that being's love and wisdom flowing to you. After the rain. When you've completed the active steps of rain, it is important to notice the quality of your own presence and rest in that wakeful, tender space of awareness. The fruit of rain is realizing that you are no longer imprisoned in or identified with any limiting sense of self. Give yourself the gift of becoming familiar with the truth and natural freedom of your being. It is mysterious and precious. And this is all from Guided Meditation Practice of Rain.
Interesting.
So
I think this, like, I could see where this could really work as a guided meditation. I was kind of thinking that partway through, that this might be a good way for someone to practice it would be if there was a guided meditation of it. So that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it wasn't, I mean, when I initially started researching it, this went in a different direction than I expected it to go. But radical compassion is just, from what I've gathered from it, it's really about compassion for yourself. And by having compassion with yourself, you can then have compassion for others.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really just breaking it down, and you know, that's kind of what you do with meditation is treat yourself with compassion and love and understanding.
Yeah.
So nonviolent communication is based on historical principles of nonviolence, the natural state of compassion when no violence is present in the heart. Nonviolent communication reminds us what we already instinctively know about how good it feels to authentically connect to another human being. I'm at the Center for Nonviolent Communication, and some of it reads like what we've talked about, where we've gone through active listening processes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's turned it into a spiritual practice, more than just a set of skills, like for communicating with the others around us, like we've talked about this several times with various tips. This is taking it to a level of a movement, and radical compassion is a part of this overall. This ties into a lot of the idea of being in the moment, feeling your feelings, own your truth, all that kind of stuff, but putting it into into a movement or a spiritual practice almost.
Yeah.
And then finding other people that share this outlook. Like, I wasn't getting it at first.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand what we're going for here, but now I get it. So it's taking a lot of the kind of basics of, like you're talking about. It's about being kind to yourself and gentle with yourself and self-love and that kind of things as a kind of a foundation, a springboard to apply this into life as the part of an actual daily practice, being present moments and yeah, this is fascinating.
And I highly recommend go out there and learn more about it, folks, and really spend some time delving into it, because I know I didn't communicate it as well as I wish I could, because I don't even have enough information, as much information as I would like on the topic itself. So I highly recommend just taking 15, 20 minutes and just doing some research on it and just really start exploring. There was even a challenge back in January where they were challenging people to to really take on and start doing these meditations and things daily, and just really be kind and compassionate.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, I forgot the woman's name already, but that you said she wrote a book, actually titled "Radical Compassion." So
I would, this on the Center for Nonviolent Communication. There's it's called the NVC model, and it's basically the idea of empathetically listening and honestly expressing, and their 4 steps are observations, feelings, needs, requests. And that's part of both sides of this. And they use the infinity symbol, which is a great way of tying these 2 concepts together. And then, like, this is there's training seminars. There's a Center for Nonviolent Communication.
Wow.
So this is a legitimate movement. This is interesting. I will send you these links to throw into the show notes, because I think if someone's interested in this, these 2 websites give an overall description of the movement.
Nice.
Huh. This is cool. It's kind of like taking the tools that we use that we talk about on the Crazy Life for getting through a day, getting through our weeks, getting through the things that are happening in our life, and turning this into more of a. And yes, it's a blueprint for living. I mean, that's how I personally like to look at 12 steps programs like that. It's a blueprint for living. It gives you a way of dealing with the world and that kind of stuff. But this is similar to it, but it's taking very specific things and trying to make it more like, I'd be curious to see what would happen if you brought this into like a workspace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Overall, like how well it would work. I mean, I know people would bristle at a lot of this because they just don't understand and they don't care to.
Right.
But for those people that are willing to work in this process, there's got to be some serious rewards from this.
Yeah, it really seems like there could be. Yeah.
I've had some pretty open-minded leadership at the place that I'm at now. They actually advocate and strongly encourage mindfulness.
That's really great.
Yeah, they use the term a lot, and they very mindfulness. Approach your job with mindfulness. Approach your decision making. Really, be thoughtful in what you're doing, and it's good to kind of hear that in a business atmosphere, because a lot of times you get the message that you need to get things done right now. Just do it. Yeah. And their message is more along the lines of be more methodical and be thoughtful in your decisions in how you do your job, so that you can make sure that you are you're achieving the results that you want.
Right. This really touches on it with these idea of observations, feelings, needs, and requests. And for sure, observations are going to there's another step, and that's kind of the idea of these steps of radical compassion is like, okay, so how do you what is it like to be in the moment, to actually perceive through your senses, the observation part? Then physical sensations and emotions, that's the feeling part. Universal needs and values that are important to you, the need. And also, just to me, that goes into fundamentals of motive. Especially when you're talking about communication, and then like what could you ask for that'll contribute to your well-being? As a request, this is not only something that we can do just for ourselves in any given moment, but then to adapt it to like what you're talking about, a workspace, because it's one thing to talk about being, to use mindfulness within ourselves, but to bring it into a shared space with other people, that takes another level. And that's what this kind of sounds like, is a way of doing so.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So here's the thing that's in identifying underlying universally shared values to motivate and support connection. All right, that could be a tall order.
Yeah.
But it's a learnable skill.
It's very fascinating. You could spend a good amount of time just kind of reading through all the literature and stuff out there on it.
Yeah.
Like there's these practical learnable skills support discerning what is actually happening right now, distinguishing observation from opinion. That's huge right there.
Mm-hmm.
When you can go from, a lot of times when communicating, especially within a group, to be able to see, it's kind of interesting because I think about this. We do this in the band a lot, where there's times where we observe and there's times that we opine, and they are very different, and they have different. Part of one can support the other.
Yeah.
But but it's important to utilize them both, I guess. Huh. But here's the part, it's like through connection to the underlying needs that drive behavior, transforming blame and criticism into consideration and respect. Excellent. Through connection to the underlying needs that drive behavior. And here's the thing, a lot of people don't care about that. So I think this is my one issue with all this. This is fine and dandy for anyone that wants to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But to assume or to expect others to is, to me, you're walking into conceit. Now you're trying to control others.
Mm.
And to bring this in, because this was brought up in my therapy right, fast, and I've shared it on here before when I started talking about somebody else, and I immediately corrected, you have no say in that. They can life's doing what they do, and it's none of your damn business.
Yeah.
And she was right.
Mm-hmm.
I can't expect anyone to react to me and interact with me using the same tools that I'm using or in the same fashion that I'm doing it. And it's not my business whether they want to ever learn a new way of relating, communicating, or not. They can go on and that's the thing, they have the right to go the rest of their life doing life their way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no say in that. And that's the part of this where this assumes everybody should be on this page. And if they're on the same page, this could be amazing.
Yeah.
And that is the utopia, I think, where they're going for. But in realism, as you've pointed out, that's not happening. It's not, we're never going to be in this utopic situation where everyone feels, and nor should we want to be, honestly, because that doesn't sound very freeing to me. But I like where they're going with it. I like what they're trying to do with it. And I think there's a lot to be gained from taking it on and learning about it from a personal perspective. But you're right. The expectation that everyone will be on that same page is definitely not going to happen.
Well, and this is the one thing so this kind of reminds me of, and Brian, you'd already brought it up about manager speak.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody goes to a seminar and then brings back all they learn, and they're so excited and they want everyone else to be part of it.
Yeah.
And you know what? Just because you went to the seminar doesn't mean that everyone else did. Now, granted, if this is something that's from a management level and we are structuring our company to be to use certain principles. Well, sometimes like if it's somebody's business and they walk in and they say, this is how we're running our business now, it's my way or the highway, and that's your boss. Well, that's the way it is.
Right.
But, and this is the one part about that I've had that kept me in to 12-step groups from the beginning was the concept of it's attraction, not promotion.
Right.
And I find to this day, there is more value and I get more mileage out of attraction rather than promotion.
And, it's funny because realistically, any sort of group essentially kind of, like religion was the same way. Religion was like, tell people about the things that have happened in your life and how you're blessed and all this, and they'll want to come and be part of our services and all this other stuff. But it's over time turned into, judgment and other things rather than trying to attract people with the positives. It's turned into more of a fear-based situation or literally preaching to where people are like, yeah, I don't want to hear it, kind of a thing. And I imagine this would as well, like to the right or wrong people, however you want to word it. Like you said, someone goes to a seminar and they come back and they're, oh my God, this changed my life and blah, blah, blah. And someone else will go, yeah, I'm fine. I'm happy. I don't need to, I don't need this, And but
like,
let me tell you,
but you're not, you have to do this too.
Yeah.
I know it'll change everything. And it's like, no, I don't.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But like Jen said, and I think that's the key with any of this kind of stuff. Same as like you were saying with 12-step, because there are people that 12-step works for. There's some that 12-step doesn't work for, and a lot of it is your approach, your mindset, all these different things. Literally buying in. It's the same in sports, religion, management, anything. If people around you don't buy in, it doesn't matter. But if you do this yourself and only worry about, hey, I'm going to do this because I feel this makes me a better person, and don't assess judgments or expectations on others with it, that's fine. It's tough for us though, because whenever we see a change, we always want to help other people. You see somebody who's not as happy, or you see something you just learned about and you're like, oh man, that could really change their life, and they don't care, I'm sure there's a ton of sober people or freshly sober people who want to go to other alcoholics and be like, oh my God, I'm so much better now that I got rid of booze, and there's going to be tons of people still drinking going, yeah, I don't want to hear it. I'm fine, and you got to come on your own term. Like you said, you have to be attracted to it.
Yeah. What I like about this is one of the things that I've noticed over the years with talking to friends of mine where I know that they could benefit from some of the tools that I've learned in 12-step programs is perhaps that person doesn't have an ism that gets them into it, the motivation of it, right? Mm-hmm. And it always made me kind of go, wow, where's the place for someone to learn these skills and these tools that's not religion, and that's not, drug alcohol counseling or mental health counseling or whatever like this. And this is actually it in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
This is people taking certain spiritual concepts of spirituality, concepts of, of those, I guess for lack of, it really comes down to this has got so much Buddhist and Eastern sort of philosophy in it, but turning it into a set of concrete, something you can train and you can learn and you can share with others, and consulting and coaching and blah, 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 without having to have some motive for learning it, just other than that you want to, or that this isn't an ideal. But here's the thing that's kind of strange to me. I had to be dragged into this.
Well, I was just thinking when you were talking about, handing someone a tool that you use because you think it could improve their life or whatever. It's like, picture just walking up to somebody and you're like, dude, this hammer has changed my life, right? And the person goes, yeah, I'm not doing any construction work right now. I don't, whatever. And you're like, no, this will change your life. And the whole time they don't see an application for it. So in their mind, they're like, okay, whatever, kind of a thing. And like you said, it's different when you were dragged into it, or when people seek out like, oh man, I have some nails I need put into something. If only there were a tool I could use, and someone goes, have you heard of a hammer? Now they're willing to, hey, this is pretty cool. You know what I mean? So it's, I think you can run into that same thing. With anything like this, no matter what it is on the show we've talked about, because there are times where I've heard people describing something and I'm like, oh my God, I know this would really help, but they're not really asking for it, and they're not in a place of like, they're not going to do anything about it kind of a thing. They're just complaining. Don't get me wrong, as we've talked in the past, I've certainly, advocated therapy for a lot of things to people and a lot of ways, because, to me, therapy is a lot like a hammer in that it can be used for a variety of things. And a lot of people really should have it, but, again, to a lot of people, you're handing them something and they're like, I pay someone else to do this for me, or I don't do, I don't put nails in. I only use my screwdriver, whatever. So you can run up against resistance for it. But again, I really like the idea, because I'm not going to lie, as we've been talking, I've been kind of pulling up some of the stuff by this Tara Brach, or I'm assuming her name is said. And I'll have some links to some of her stuff in the show notes. Like, she's actually done like guided meditations and stuff, and she has meditations on her website and whatever. So I'll have links to some of that stuff if anyone wants to go look at that.
And there's on the Center for Nonviolent Communication, they've got a great online library where they sell all sorts of books.
Awesome.
CDs, tools. This is really cool. There's one that's titled Being Me, Loving You. Right away, I'm like, I kind of want to read that.
Now, I'm not going to lie. The first thing a lot of this stuff seems to just, the air it gives off to me is very much like, if you replaced their topics with take your pick sermons, I bet it would feel very similar in the vibe that you get off of it. It's a very religion feeling, but don't run away from it because of that. If you're an anti-religious kind of person, there is a spirituality that they're going for, is what they're aiming for. I think. I don't think they're aiming for I don't think they're trying to be a cult or that kind of a thing.
It's interesting that if I think about what my reaction would have been to this 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Go back far enough and I would have had all sorts of sarcastic opinions about this.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure.
Because of just not having a willingness or an open mind, which I am so grateful that I can look at this. And even though, I can honestly say these are some of the overall, it's not for me as an organization.
Yeah.
However, I like the tools.
Yeah.
I want to use these tools. I just like the tools within my own.
That is so amazing, because I had almost that exact statement when someone was asking me why, about going to church. And I said that I do have a thing where I'm seeking spirituality from the world and whatnot, but I don't like various things about organized religions, but I do like some of the tools or some of the things that they have said, different ones over the years, so it's kind of interesting. Again, I'm not trying to say this is a religion, but it's just funny how that kind of parallels right into that same thing. Is it's hard to have this kind of a thought process, no matter what your subject is, whether it's about helping people with addiction, whether it's helping people be more compassionate, whatever it is. And it just immediately feels like it's a religion. If anything, that's a credit to how good religion built their skeleton, or whatever they took it from. That skeleton was built so well that anytime something else goes into it, it's like, oh yeah, this feels familiar, kind of a thing.
Well, yeah, that's why people are, when they get involved with 12-step groups, they instantly feel that same thing.
Yeah.
That's why they call it a cult, and that's why they call it all these things, because it has these similarities to them.
Yeah, because it's trying to get a large group of people to think the same way, essentially.
Yeah, and there is spiritual teachings in it, and they use and the readings use the word God a lot. And so on first blush, absolutely, I totally get it.
Right.
You know, I have never, ever, and I will never deny it. I will never say, no, it's not like that. Because if you feel it's like that, then it's like that.
Right.
I personally am happy I got past that, and I looked for the similarities instead of the differences, and I found why this is actually this gets said all the time. There's a big door to walk through.
Yeah.
It is huge. It's as big as you want it to be, meaning you can find your own pathway in this.
Yeah.
And I hope that this organization also sees it that way within the use of their tools, is that this is a big wide open doorway, and you can find your own path in this.
Yeah, me too. Because that is really essentially where I think things kind of I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is, where they kind of differ from like a cult concept to something else. A cult says the door is narrow, you can only go through it one way, essentially. And like you were just saying, realistically, if the end message is, no, the door's big, anyone can fit through it, kind of a thing, even if it's not by following everything to the exact letter that we're doing. You know, you can kind of pick and choose the tools that work for you and still get through the doorway in the end.
Yeah,
you know,
because we just want you to be better.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that's probably the intent here, because I'm curious to read a little more into this to see if it's more philosophy based or if it's more, I don't want to say religion, but you know, and spirituality doesn't feel right, because spirituality there's some blurry lines sometimes between philosophy and spirituality, you know, so, but I don't know if you understand what I'm saying here. It's like, I'm curious if when you're listening to it, it feels more, let's say, Buddhist versus Catholic. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I know what you're saying.
And that's kind of my thing, is like, does it feel more like a, hey, we just want you to be better, which I think is the key here, you know? Or does it come across the other way? And I'm not trying to dump on this at all. I'm just very much like, you know, like you said, Henno, years ago, I easily would have been like, this is ridiculous, you know? And even now, I'm with you, Henno. This doesn't feel like it's for me, but I can see how it could help someone else. And as we've advocated for minute one on this show, we're all about throwing whatever at the wall and seeing what sticks. May not stick for me, but if it sticks for you, awesome. Our goal is, again, to get everybody to the big door. So
check it out. Yep.
Yeah.
The estimate, whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I said I want to put that on there. I may have seemed negative through this. If I did, I didn't mean to. I was just, and I don't want to do the devil's advocate. I'm just want to see kind of for my own sake. I do like to weigh both sides on stuff like this as I'm entering into them, you know, to kind of make sure that I'm getting the, you know, see what kind of the help the tools can offer me. And again, I haven't read into it enough. Maybe this is for me. I don't know. You know, like I said, it feels a little too out there concept for me a little bit, because I'm very restrained when it comes to this kind of stuff. Even though I try to be as compassionate as I can, you know, there's such a level of skepticism in my head. I can't just immediately just run in going, ooh, you know, I can't go, ooh, shiny trinket. My head goes, what's the trick? You know, like,
well, it's nice to find something new though.
It is, though.
Which I think is great. That's why when it was brought up as a topic today, I was like, hey, I want to hear about this. I want to hear what this is.
Well, and from my Google search also, it looks like it isn't just compassion, that there's like kind of a whole radical concept too. Like there's a lot of different like mindfulness and different stuff, to where I think the thought process is behind it is hey, you know, go into this, like really the radical part of it is being completely open to it. Or like in compassion, it's the idea, like you said, with the non-competitive free or communication or whatever it was called, the goal is to try to remove anything hate-based or that could be, you know, seen as conflict creating kind of a thing, to remove it from your heart so that your only goal is compassion. You know, and again, that's the goal. It's a tough, I'm sure, to achieve that point, but it's, you know, that's your goal, is to really not just go, oh yeah, I'm compassionate, but just to be like, no, I am only here for you right now. Like that kind of a thing, whether it's for yourself or someone else. It's, if you're trying to be compassionate for yourself, can you remove the hate from your heart for yourself, you know, so that you can show yourself the compassion you deserve? Like I said, it sounds very out there kind of a thing, almost like a thing that you need to be on a substance to really dig into. But
I think that's the point, though. Here.
It is.
They're taking a big swing.
Yeah.
And they're saying, hey.
Well, it says radical, right? You know, that's exactly it.
That's the idea of being radical. And because I was like, nonviolent communication. Well, when you drill down into it a little bit, it's like, oh, okay, they're taking certain practices and certain concepts that many people have shared, you know, with everything that's going on with race right now. And, you know, we've lost John Lewis, who his whole thing was about getting out there and no matter what, advocating for yourself and fighting, but with love and respect in your heart.
Yeah.
And so these are things that have been brought up time and time again. And hey, why not try to organize it? And that's how movements start.
Yeah. Well, and it is going to work better if you're around like-minded people, right? You know, because you can discuss, hey, they're on the same journey you're on. So much like being in a 12-step program, you're talking with other people on the same journey, no matter whether they're at the same step you are or not, you're all on that same journey. So you can share wins, losses, what worked, what didn't work, you know, all these kind of things.
Yep.
And it's same with this, as, you know, like I said, or anything, you know, that we're all trying together, weight loss, you know, like going to Weight Watchers or whatever, that kind of a thing, those meetings, you know, or whatever it happens to be. It definitely helps when you discuss things with like-minded people. So, you know, I get it. Just as long as, you know, no one asks you to sign over all your possessions and only let them have relations with your spouse, you know?
Exactly. Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Right. If either of those things happen, run. But otherwise, you know, seems all right.
Right. Yeah. So.
Well, thanks for bringing us in.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah. You're welcome. So, everybody, we threw a lot at you tonight. I want you to go out there, read up on it, and report back. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what your thoughts are and how you feel about it. We'd love to hear from you. And you know how to do that. You've heard the show before. You know where we're at. But just in case you forgot or you're new, you can find us at the Crazy Life Podcast. .weebly.com is our website. The Crazy Life Podcast at outlook.com is our email address. If you'd like to talk to me direct, you're more than welcome to reach out to me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with the G. You can also hear more from me if you'd like. I'm on Shake the Sheets, which is a pop culture podcast that I do with my co-host Nate, and we talk about all sorts of fun things in the pop culture world. And you, Henno, if they would like to talk to you, how can they reach you?
You can find me on Twitter at @Henno. Find me on Facebook Messenger, Henno Heiter. Check out my other podcast, Moving the Needle podcast, where, like I mentioned earlier, we did Almost Famous. Really fun. Had some good rock and roll stories too. And check out in a couple of weeks, we'll have Brian doing basketball and dodgeball.
Yeah. And you can find me on Twitter at Stunami, or you can find my other podcast at salty_language or at saltylanguage.com. That's me and my best pal doing, well, this week it was we talked a decent amount of pop culture stuff this week. I think it was more pop culture heavy than most of our weeks, but we just talk about that stuff, what happens in life, just kind of whatever we notice that we think's kind of fun or cool or weird. So, yeah, go check it out. The show is not safe for work, so be careful where you're listening to it at, or, you know, at least make sure you got some earbuds in or something. And, yeah, there you go. Check that out, please. And you can also find this show on Twitter at The Crazy Life Pod. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/group/crazylifepod. We're part of the Tangentbound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. So please go check out the other shows over there. And tell Mark that, we said hi. I don't know. I got nothing. Or if you want to start a podcast, Mark's actually a really good resource for helping people get going with podcasts too. So, hit him up and, talk to him. He's been great about that. Also, as every other episode, we mentioned to you, please, if you feel like you need help, like if you're having a mental health crisis or just feel like whatever it is that's affecting you is negatively affecting your life, please reach out to somebody. There's all sorts of help out there. There's people willing to help you. There's people who've dedicated their time and life to helping you. So please, just reach out for that help. There's all sorts of ways out there. Even if one way doesn't work for you, there's something else. There's all sorts of tools to throw at a lot of these problems. And again, you're not alone. Whatever it is that you're dealing with, there's somebody else out there dealing with it too. There's a good chance there's a subreddit on it. I mean, grain of salt, all that though, because most of the people in there also are not doctors or trained professionals. But yeah, if you feel you need help, please reach out to somebody and get the help that you need. And of course, please reach out to other people in your life too, especially with everything going on in the world right now. Just make sure they're doing okay. Just check on them and, see if they need anything. But also, let's be kind to one another the best we can. Even if people, like Jen was saying, earlier, it's like, even if people have different, opinions than you, or they come down on a different side of, the mask, no mask thing or whatever it is, let's just try to be kind to everybody that we can, and show compassion out there as much as possible. And also make sure you remember to start with yourself when it comes to that, because once again, you put the oxygen mask on yourself, then put it on others. So please take care of yourself as well as, being kind and taking care of others.
And with that, everybody, go out there and have the best week you possibly can. We will be here next week just waiting for you. And don't forget, spread the love. Don't spread the COVID. We'll see you later.